There, I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com, and this is my Smart American Accent Training. Welcome to our live Friday broadcast, where we take your questions and I answer them regarding American accent training, pronunciation in English, intonation, and whatever you need to improve your personal and professional communication in American English. Welcome back to those of you who've been to class before, and if you're new, I welcome you to the channel and to the class. You can ask your questions at any time in the chat, and I will periodically stop the topic for today and check in with those questions and make sure that I'm answering them all for you. Today's topic, we're going to be talking about intonation, the music of English, the ups and downs, and specifically I'm going to focus in on pitch. So we have pitch when we sing. If you think about singers, they sing high, they sing low. They use various pitches to convey the melody and the harmony of the music. But we also have melody and harmony pitches in our speaking voice. And everyone does, even if you think you have a monotone voice, you do use pitch. You just may not realize what you do, how you use pitch, and you might not always be using it the same way an American would for conveying the meaning of your message. So today we're going to go through some very simple exercises to help you understand pitch better, to use it better, to hear it and be able to imitate it and begin to use it in your speech as well. And I'm also going to highlight for you some of the resources that I have, both here on my channel, Speech Modification Seattle, and on my website, speechmodification.com. I have many, many free resources to help you specifically with pitch, with intonation, and of course, overall with pronunciation and American English. So yes, English does have music, it does have rhythm. So one of the things I like to start with when I'm teaching people about pitch, and we covered some of this in last week's class as well, is that to feel and understand what's happening in pitch in your own voice, one of the simplest things that you can do is simply say, uh-huh, like Americans will say yes. So try that with me. And of course, if you're somewhere listening on headphones at work and you can't speak out loud, you can just think it in your mind. But if you say, uh-huh, uh-huh, you can hear how I'm starting at a lower pitch and going up to a higher pitch. Uh-huh. And most of us naturally can do that, imitate that. And so you may not feel like you have a lot of understanding or control of pitch yet, but you have a low and a high. And next, what we're going to look at is rising in pitch and falling in pitch, and why you would want to do that and where. Before we start talking about the details of that pitch, I want to talk about why you might want to care about pitch. So I can definitely speak with little or no pitch variation in English and still be understood and get my message across. It may cause some problems sometimes for people understanding me because we definitely rely on pitch to convey meaning, but there are many other backup plans in intonation. So if pitch is something that you never do, well, you might still be able to be understood, but you might be misunderstood. You might be considered to be kind of a boring speaker or hard to understand because the pitch is missing. And you might also be conveying a message that you don't mean to convey. And I'm going to give you an example of this. If I had started class today and I had said to you guys, how are you? I'm showing it with my face as well, but my pitch was flat. How are you? Okay, so it sounds like I'm asking you that, but maybe I don't really care that much about the answer, or I'm not really very engaged. So I'm saying the right words, I'm stressing the right words, but without any pitch, how are you? It doesn't really sound very interesting, and I don't sound interested. If I add just the tiniest little bit of pitch, instead of how are you, flat, I just go up a little bit on R. How are you? How are you? Not a whole lot of pitch there, but you can hear how when I say, how are you? It sounds like I actually care, I'm engaged with you, I want to hear your answer. So small variations in pitch show a lot. We use pitch to convey meaning, to convey emotion, to be interesting, to persuade, and to have that natural American sound. Welcome everybody, it's so nice to see everyone here today. So let's talk about some very, very basic things and ways you can use pitch. First of all, we're going to just look at some 2-word questions and statements. We're going to only use 2 words, but we're going to do a lot of different things with pitch on these words. So when I ask a question, I will have, word order and punctuation to show my question. Now, in written speech, we have punctuation, but when I'm talking, I can't, I'm not going to write a question mark. I have to make that punctuation, that question mark, with my intonation, with my pitch, my rhythm. And so when I'm asking the question, should I use pitch by starting at a medium and rising up. Should I? Should I? Then you can really hear that I'm asking a question. Now, this is a yes-no question. And what that means is the answer for this question can be yes or no. And there's no question word. So I'm not using what or who. There's no question word. When there's a question word, we do something different with the intonation. When it's a yes-no question, verb and pronoun, should I rise up. Same words, different word order, statement with a period, I should. So I can simply start at that medium pitch again and fall off. I should. This is a great basic practice for pitch, kind of starting to hear, can I rise and fall? Should I? I should. You can use lots of 2-word combinations for this. Can we? We can. Do you? You do. So that's one of the more basic patterns that we can use, and you can get some help for that in my latest video on my intonation playlist, which is just basic pitch practice. I also have lessons for pitch practice from the basic level to more advanced level on speechmodification.com on my free practice materials. I'll show you that a little bit later in class. And you can also get help for intonation in my online courses. So I use that word order, verb and then pronoun, to make it a question, but I can also keep the word order the same, pronoun and then verb, but make this a question. And I do that with pitch. So if I say, I should, falling pitch, that's a statement. If I say, I should, rising pitch, it's a question. Should I? I should. So there's 2 different ways to ask that question, but they both have that rising pitch for the yes-no question. The next step that I would like to look at is when I have a statement, I should, I can do that basic falling off, I should, but I often advise my non-native speakers to use a rising and then falling pitch for statements. Even if there's only 2 words, I want to hear you go up on the word that's stressed and then fall off to show that your statement is finished. That helps your listener hear what word is important. It helps you not get down too low when you're speaking so you can still be well understood. When the danger here is when I say, I should. You can hear my voice is going pretty low, and when my voice gets down near the bottom, sometimes it's harder to hear and understand what I'm saying, especially if I have accent patterns or accent error patterns towards the ends of words or towards the ends of phrases. Your listener might lose what you're saying there. And so a nicer way or a clearer way to use intonation for just statements, 2-word statements or longer, is to rise up and then to fall off. So I'm going to start at a medium, rise up and fall off. I should. And I talk a lot about this pattern. I call it 2, 3, 1, where 2 is medium, 3 is higher, 1 is lower. 2, 3, 1. I should. And this is the most important pattern you can learn for, I'm going to circle with statement, for American intonation. We use that in many statements, many questions. That's, if you're going to learn one thing, it would be 2, 3, 1. I should. Rising and falling to show the statement is done and to show where the stress is. Of course, with stress, we also use length. So the I is short and the should is long. I should. I'm going to pause there. I'll come back to the 3 more iterations of pitch, but I want to take questions and check in with you guys on check for understanding so far and see what other questions you might have today. So nice to see you, everyone. We have a question for the vowel sound in yeah, is that the same vowel as in man? Yes, you are correct. So yeah. One confusion for that word, yeah, is that sometimes people confuse yeah and yay or ye. We don't really have a consistent spelling. So I will see people using different combinations. They might be trying to say yay and they spell it this way. I think of this as yeah with the ah vowel, which yes is the same vowel as in man, my black cat vowel. So if I'm just saying yeah for yes, then I use that ah vowel. Great question. Another question, is there any W in these words? Whole, oops, whole, bowl, and goal. Well, so we see a spelled W in these words, don't we? And these words all have our dark L at the end. And when we have a dark L, we have an sound, a schwa, and then the L, ul. And before that, we have, in all of these words, the O vowel, O. And when I go from my O to my ul, you can see how my mouth naturally glides between the two, and that makes the W sound. So yes, there is a W there. It's very quick, goal, bowl, whole. Usually if you slow down and feel the shape of the O moving into the O, you'll hear that W. You don't have to intentionally insert it, but if it helps you make those vowels correctly and glide between the two correctly, you can think about that W to help you. Whole, bowl, goal. Great question. You can find more about saying the L at the ends of words and how that hidden W sound is there on the website on speechmodification.com, or look for my American L video on YouTube. Another question, is there any yah in sail, jail, fail? Yes, so similar concept. When I have sail, also sail, jail, and fail, I have, again, my O at the end, and then I'm moving from an A sound, which has the A, kind of more of a smiling spread sound, A-O, and then I naturally have the y sound in between. Again, because I'm gliding between vowels, that y naturally comes in. Ale, sail, jail, fail. I don't have to put an intentional strong W or Y in these words, but it is the way we link between vowels. I have another video called Vowel to Vowel Linking, which you might find helpful for understanding what's going on there. And also, of course, my Final L videos do clarify that. I also have a lesson with a list of words like that, which ones have kind of the hidden W, which ones have the kind of hidden J sound on my website in the free practice materials. Thank you, great questions. Let's see. Please, let's see, could you tell me how to pronounce these words, couch and coach, because it sounds the same to me. Yes, I'd be happy to do that. So couch has my brown cow vowel, which sounds like ow. So couch, I'm saying an ow, and coach, I'm saying an o, coach. So couch, coach. The difference here is that the ow vowel has an ah and an ow, versus o, I'm starting in a round shape and closing. Coach, couch. In this, I'm starting more of an open shape and then closing to rounded. This is a great comment because I did just yesterday upload a new video to help you with vowels. Of course, I have an extensive vowels playlist, but I wanted to show you some new resources. So if you go to my YouTube channel, which you're on today, you can see in the new uploads or in the Vowels of English playlist that I have a new video for you here, how to pronounce and spell American English vowels. And this is a very basic video going through all of the vowel sounds, showing you the spelling. I say the sound, I say some sample words, and you can hear and compare and get some nice vowel anchors. So getting some words that you can use. When I was saying couch, I was saying it's brown cow versus your other word, coach, is a no snow vowel. So I can begin to hear and differentiate those vowels. And to accompany that, I have a new lesson on my website. So when you go to speechmodification.com and you go to the free practice, you go to free online practice free trial, and you'll see the latest lessons there. And the most recent one has some information, again, for vowels and consonants, my vowels playlist. And it'll take you to my new free guide. So I have an extensive vowel guide, which many of you have already downloaded from the store page. And now I also have this quick reference guide for all of the sounds of English. And it's a visual to show you consonant sounds and vowel sounds, anchor words, spelling, etc. So I hope you'll check that out, and I think you'll find it very helpful. Also, if you need more details about vowels, a great place to see that is here on my American English Vowels guidelines, and that has even more words and even more comparisons for you. So check those out. Great question. And question, do I have live video every Friday? Yes, we have this class every Friday at 12 o'clock Pacific time, and you're welcome to join. And if you can't make it exactly at that time, you can come to the replay. You can view the same link. It'll take you to the video when it's no longer live. And I do take questions there as well by answering people's questions that are in the comments. So you can ask questions in the comments for this video and for any of my other videos on my channel. I always go through and find those questions, answer them, tell you where you can find resources, or maybe make a new video to answer your question. I get the best ideas from you guys because you tell me what you need. I can find out what things you struggle with, what questions you have with words. And I really appreciate all of the questions and all the comments because it helps me make this a better channel, it helps me make better materials, and gives me ideas for new videos. And I do also have a community page on YouTube, which I know many of you also visit. And on the YouTube community page, I post questions, polls. I give you updates for new materials and new videos. And I guess you can't view that here on the iPad. And so every day I'm posting something new on there, getting your feedback and getting community help for the channel. So I appreciate those of you who've done that. And for those of you who've subscribed to the channel, you also can get notified every time I have a live class. Sometimes I do an extra one, not just on Fridays. And it'll also notify you when I upload new videos. So you can select how much you're notified by clicking on the bell, or you can just subscribe and then you'll see my videos on your homepage on YouTube. More questions. The Oxford Learner's Dictionary transcribes the vowel sound in ya as yeah. Is that the same as or is it different? Okay, so back to the question about the word yeah. We were looking at the, she's saying that she's seeing the transcription as And so that would be kind of if I was saying yeah. Yeah, okay, so that's a different pronunciation of the same word. So if I say yeah, then that's the man. And I think that's how I say it with a J. Is yeah. So that's the red tent vowel, and the schwa vowel, yeah. So that's another reasonable pronunciation of yeah. Mine is more stressed, yeah, clear vowel. Theirs is more elongated with clear vowel and an unstressed vowel. Yeah. Again, when we're talking about words like yeah, that are real words, but they kind of developed out of reduced sounds for things like yes, they're going with saying, it has the vowel for yes, which is yes. And they're just saying the S is dropping off and we're kind of elongating and relaxing. Yeah. So that's a good way of thinking about how that word came about and how it is pronounced in some cases. Great question. Okay. Is there a rule for identifying the I sound, like schwa, in confidence? I would say that many times I talk about reduced sounds in words and how we use either a schwa or an sound, and it's typically reduced in words where we spell it with an I or an E. We often have more of an I sound. And with other vowels, we often have more of an sound. It depends on the surrounding vowels, but the most important thing in words like confidence is to make clear vowels on the stressed syllables and make those reduced sounds on the unstressed syllables. So for confidence, I'm going to show you that we have stress here, confidence, and fidence are both short. So I could say confidence, but yeah, that does sound a little strange. We do tend to use an and an I and an on there, and then we have the clear vowel. Most important is long, short, confidence. If you are making more of a stressed vowel or equal stress across these syllables, that's what's going to sound strange. How precise you are on I versus is less important in this context. So get used to or try practicing going quickly and relaxing those vowels on the unstressed syllables. And then as you get more comfortable with that or more confident with that, then you can work on refining whether it's an I vowel or an vowel. Very good. Another question. She's seeking some advice on the word would and saying the transition between the W and the is difficult. So if you're working on the words like would, same spelling, would, one suggestion I have is to try with the word should first. My SH shape and my shape are fairly similar, should. And then go from that should to would. And what you probably feel the difference there, and you could see it in my mouth, is when I'm doing should, my mouth is more open to start. My lips are rounded, but they're not in that really tight position. The problem that you're probably facing is that W is really a semi-vowel between and or I'm not sure which. But it starts with that shape, the very tight round shape, and then we have to open up more to get to my shape. So you might be having more trouble because it's easier to say would and keep my mouth and my lips in the same position. So I would work on opening up, would. So try opening your lips, even if you have to make should to feel it first, should, would. Try to get back into that SH or that shape for the lips. Great question. Next question. Is there a difference between man and ma'am in the pronunciation? The only difference there between man and ma'am is that ma'am has an M at the end and man has an N at the end. So I'm closing off with my tongue for man, and I'm closing off with my lips for ma'am. Next question. Do you think that the musicality of American English comes naturally once you've mastered pronunciation? No, I don't think it does. I think pronunciation and intonation are separate, and it tends to be challenging to do both, but we do have to do both at the same time. So I do highly recommend tuning into and working on intonation separately. And also pronunciation and trying to integrate both. So many of my exercises and classes talk about different levels of practice. When you're doing the most basic practice, just focus on pronunciation or just focus on intonation. And as you get some of the skills in both areas, then you can begin to integrate the two. And don't wait on intonation, because one of the things that happens is when we work on our pronunciation, sometimes it has a negative effect on our intonation. Because, for example, if I'm really trying to focus on correctly pronouncing sounds in words, especially at the ends of words, I might get a little too choppy because I'm focusing in on getting those sounds and I'm losing those links, those transitions, those reduced sounds that come from the natural intonation patterns. They're separate skills, and I know some people have strengths and weaknesses in both areas. And what I typically find is that people who have more of a weakness in intonation just haven't had good instruction for it, haven't really been given the tools they need to do it. So everyone can improve both their pronunciation and their intonation, but it takes specific help and training. So keep coming to class, and I'll make sure that I'm covering both of those topics and covering them at different levels. Also, check out my online courses. They do walk you through intonation and pronunciation exercises and then how to integrate the two. If you're here in the Seattle area, I'm going to be teaching some group classes beginning in January in Bellevue, and so hopefully you'll be able to join those. I believe there probably will be a weekday morning class as well as a Saturday class. And if you're not local, I have much of the same content in my online course. Several online courses. The one I recommend is my 6-week course. I do work with people one-on-one as well. So for those of you who are looking for a really high-level help and a lot of feedback, you can check out my individual accent training services on speechmodification.com. Great question. And yes, let's continue talking about intonation so I can help you with that. We have a question or a word, titanium. I'm guessing you're asking for help with pronouncing that word, titanium. So in the word titanium, we start with the diphthong I, and titanium. I tend to use an aspirated T for both of those, 4 syllables, titanium, stress on the second syllable, tie. Yeah, so that's a fairly straightforward word. All right, so let's return to our topic of intonation. So we had our rising intonation for our question, our falling or rising and falling intonation for our statement. Now I want to look at when these are the kind of default settings or the general patterns and what I advise learning first, but we also use intonation to change the meaning. So without changing the words, I can change the meaning by changing my intonation. So if I'm saying I should as a question, we saw that here, that I can make my question I should by rising up. And my standard intonation there is that I'm lengthening on should. I should, and that's where I'm really rising up. But if I want to change the meaning and specify I should, then I'm rising up on my I and my should, and my length is here on I. I should. And so you can hear how if I say I should, I'm asking whether I should. If I say I should, there's an implied meaning there of you're saying me, not him or not you. And so it's useful to know the difference between those patterns, because if you're inadvertently stressing the wrong word, you might be conveying kind of a changed or hidden meaning. Another example of that, in my statement, I had my pattern, I should. If I stress and lengthen on I should, then I'm going to rise and fall. And the difference here, I have that here, I should. The difference here is length on my verb. Usually the verb is more important than a pronoun, and it's usually stressed, and the length is there. I should. But here I'm still using the falling, and I'm lengthening on the I. I should. I should. And maybe I'm starting a little higher than this one, or maybe not. But how high I go and how long I go is where my emphasis is. Again, there's a changed meaning there. I should. That's where I'm trying to tell you. No, I should, rather than I should, which is more of a standard or default meaning. Lastly, I convey emotion with pitch. So if I'm really excited or I'm really trying to emphasize this, I can say, I should, I should. Again, there my pattern is still my 2-3-1, rise and fall, my stress word, I should. But I'm going higher than I did here. Statement, I should. Exclamation, I should. So the how high I go conveys the degree of emotion. Back to my example at the beginning when I was saying my flat, how are you, versus my normal pitch, how are you? You can hear the difference. Flat, how are you? Not that interested. How are you? More friendly, more interested. Or maybe if somebody's been really ill or they were in the hospital or I'm trying to show a higher degree of concern, I'm going to show that with my facial expression and also more extreme pitch. How are you? Regular, how are you? More extreme, how are you? How are you? You can hear how there's a lot of meaning and a lot of emotional engagement shown with the pitch. And so for some non-native speakers, if your language does different things with pitch, doesn't have as much pitch, or you're just not as comfortable trying the American pitch patterns, you might unintentionally be coming across as slightly less friendly, slightly less engaged, or maybe a little bit bored or angry. Oftentimes I hear, people not using enough pitch and being misinterpreted and misunderstood when they're just speaking normally, they're perfectly friendly, they're engaging, but that lack of pitch is causing some issues for them. So that's my pitch for why to use pitch, my sales pitch. We can talk in more detail about pitch again in another lesson. Next week, we might switch back to talking about pronunciation and go over some of the new materials with vowels and consonants. But I'll maybe put some polls on the community page this week to find out what topics you'd like to see. And of course, you can always get more help for intonation on my intonation playlist and by asking questions and leaving comments. So I'm going to check. There's another question, and before we sign off, one last question about on. Do native speakers ever reduce it to something like n, un, or un in fast speech? There's a spot on your shirt. There's a spot on your shirt. Yeah, I would say anytime we have some of these smaller prepositions or structure words, they're definitely quick. So if I'm saying, oh, there's a spot on your shirt, spot and shirt are going to be lengthened and more stressed. There's a spot on your shirt. I think I tend to stay with the ah vowel in that case, but that's my personal speech. I would definitely say it would sound normal to say there's a spot on your shirt, and reduce that vowel to more of a schwa. Link it, especially when I'm going from spot to on. If I'm saying something is spot on, then I'm going to use a clear vowel because that's stressed. A spot on your shirt, spot on your shirt might get linked together and reduced. So yes, I would say the answer to your question is yes, we might use vowel schwa in that case. Great. Any other last questions before we wrap up for today? Feel free to ask those. Thank you so much for your attention, for coming to class, for asking great questions. And I hope you learned a little something about pitch today to help you. I know it's challenging and it's something that can be hard to work on your own without feedback and help. So we'll definitely return to this topic and address it for you again in the future. Susan has a question. In Merriam's Learner's Dictionary, they don't use the phoneme ah, for example, in the word lawyer and door. Can I use o instead of ah? So the question is about the ah phoneme, which I call the caught law. The question is, can we use o instead? So the ah phoneme in some places in English is not that different from the ah. So ah is rounded, ah is open, no rounding. This is in not hot. These two have merged in some areas of the US, and you won't hear much of a difference between caught and cot. I still make a pretty distinct difference there. Your question is whether you can use O, and in the words door and lawyer, in lawyer, we actually don't use the same vowel as we do in law. So even though we spell it the same, the word law has aw. Lawyer, I think has an oi diphthong, the noisy boy. Lawyer. So there is an O, but it's in the diphthong oi. So you can't use lawyer. You need that E and that W sound. In door, I do use an O. Door. I know I see in some dictionaries that they have words like door and floor and more as an aw, more. That has more to do with how do they notate the R diphthongs. So you'll see or, you'll see I use O, because I always like to highlight that all my diphthongs that have another vowel and the have the vowel. And you'll also see R, but it's not because the sound is different. The sound in door to my ear is an O and an It's an or diphthong. So that's just about how they mark it. Unfortunately, different dictionaries use different systems. Even when you're consistently using IPA, there's different interpretations of how to represent those sounds. So what I say is learn a system, use your ear to make sure you're hearing and producing the correct sound, match those sounds. I like my system because I'm familiar with it and it matches the Oxford Learner's Dictionary for the most part. I also think it helps you break down the combinations of vowels and how they go together. So you can check that out on speechmodification.com. And that's a great question. And it can be confusing using some of the online resources. So finding something that you understand and can use consistently to get the correct pronunciation is the most important thing. We have another question. What's the difference between these two sentences? How to and how do I think? How to and how do. I think that T becomes a D sound. Yes, okay. So if I'm saying how to, for example, how to talk and how do, then I would need another word there. How do you talk? The pronunciation of the how to versus how do ends up being pretty much the same. The two, how to talk, it ends up sounding like a flap T, which is a light D, and the O gets reduced. So it sounds like how to talk, how to, versus how do you talk, how do you talk, how do you talk. Depending on the stress, I might keep my oo in do, how do you talk. In reduced connected speech, it also gets changed to an how do you talk. The main difference that you're going to hear here is that you can never say how to talk and use this. So it's the grammar of the sentence that's going to tell you which one you're doing, but you're correct in your noticing that they both end up sounding like how do you, mostly it's going to be do you. That's the most common combination because that's the verb combination that we use. So yes, slight difference in that this is a flap T, how to, but in connected speech, the D becomes very light and like a flap T as well. Great question. We have a question, where can I find all American English IPA? So I would recommend the Oxford Learner's Dictionary for one, and also on speechmodification.com. Take a look at my latest free download, which is this one here, the Sounds of American English Quick Guide. And so you'll see what I've done for you there is I've taken all of the sounds, I've shown you the IPA symbol and example words, and you can use this, download it to help you understand what the sounds are and how to represent them with IPA. I also use that consistently in all of my lessons on the website and on my on my YouTube channel. And my latest 2 uploads are Consonants of English and Vowels of English, showing you the IPA. You can listen and you can repeat. You can hear those sounds. So check those out after class is done. Hop on over to Speech Modification Seattle, the channel page, and you'll see those 2 latest uploads. They're also here. I believe I showed you some people earlier in class. If you go to the free practice site on speech modification, click on online practice free trial, and the latest free lesson there has all of the IPA for you as well. So it has the vowels, the consonants, and links to those guides. And you can see and hear me producing those sounds and showing you there. Great. So Mohammed says, I've taken a lot of time listening to classes about intonation and sentence stress, but I'm still confused. Yes, intonation is complex and it can be confusing. What I think is if you can find and understand a few simple rules and try to build from the basics. So take what we did in the beginning of class today with rising and falling and try to use that and work your way up to more complex intonation. It's going to be really helpful. Another thing that I suggest is check out in your native language what is the intonation that's happening there. Now, you might think your native language doesn't have any intonation. You can do it naturally and you don't really have to think about it. Say a simple question. Say a simple statement. What is your voice doing? Are you holding some words longer than others? Are some words fast and some words are long? Does your voice go up and down? Maybe record yourself and listen, or listen to television or movie in your native language and listen for intonation patterns. When you understand what's happening in your own language, you can sometimes hear then what you might be doing correctly or incorrectly in other languages as well. So I hope that'll help you, and I know that it is a complex topic. That's why we keep coming back to it and trying to give you some ways to access. And a big part of getting your intonation correct is surrounding yourself with American English, listening, hearing it, trying to imitate it, going outside of your comfort zone with going up and down with pitch and checking that out, trying it on for size. So great questions today. Thank you everyone for being here as part of class. I hope you'll join me again next Friday for our next question and answer class. That'll be at 12 o'clock Pacific time next Friday here on Speech Modification Seattle. Thanks so much for being here today. I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com. Remember, if you want to sound American, you can do it. speechmodification.com.